In this Fix Your Q&A, we'll talk about my Fixie life hacks, plus my training and nutrition tips that you probably shouldn't listen to, plus more coming up. What's up? I'm Zach Gallardo. Life is short, but don't make it shorter, so ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous. And subscribe and like this video to watch more fixed gear videos just like this one. And of course, you can find all the questions in this Fix Your Q&A, along with all the links to the parts that we talk about in the description. For steel bikes that weigh well under 20 pounds or 9 kilograms that you can customize to be your dream bike right out of the box, consider checking out Wabi Cycles linked at the top of the description. Are there any Fixie life hacks that you've learned along the way, either from riding or maintenance? My number one tip is to keep your bike clean. This is the best thing that you can do for maintenance, and I've found that it keeps me motivated to ride my bike on a regular basis because it's always in good order and it's always running smoothly. It makes riding a lot more fun for me, and it removes one more barrier for just hopping on my bike. I've learned how to fly with a bike for free and the easiest way to do it. And now that I'm flying with my bike a lot, I choose airlines with the best bike policy. Pro tip, if you got non-refundable tickets and the airline that you chose has an unfriendly bike policy, sometimes it's cheaper to upgrade to first class and get more baggage allowance than it is to pay the baggage fees. I've even stretched baggage policies to their limits. When I was flying from San Francisco to Taipei, I brought 2 bikes with me, and the airline employees had to check with the upper management to see if it was okay. They were just thinking, there's no way this guy can fly with 2 bikes for free. But I could. Probably most controversial, I found that I don't really like drop bars and I really love risers. And for most people that aren't racers, you'll spend 85% of your time riding your bike on the hoods, about 10% of the time on the tops, and maybe 5% on the drops. Of course, I'm sure you do more than that. I'm just saying for people in general. I found that wider risers give me all the hand positions I need if I'm going up against a headwind, grab closer to the clamp and bend my elbows. And that gives me a sufficient aerodynamic position. I'm not a racer, so that's good enough for me. And risers are way more fun than drops to me. As for climbing on a fixed gear, it's really important to never lose your cadence. So take advantage of those flatter sections of a climb to regain your cadence. You have to really attack hills when climbing on a fixed gear. And if you slack even just a bit, it becomes really difficult to regain your cadence, and sometimes you just have to hoof your bike. Also, I really don't like this Strava culture and the mindset that it breeds, where it's all about showing how hard of a rider you are, how fast, how far, and how high you can go on your bike. Those rides are good, but they're not the only rides. It's okay to ride slowly. It's okay to ride short distances. Ride your bike in a way that you enjoy the most, and I think that's the most important Fixie life hack. What's your opinion on leader bikes being reborn as Tyrant bikes? First of all, this is an unsubstantiated comment that leader and Tyrant bikes are linked. I personally was not able to find any information on Tyrant bikes other than that they manufacture the Kagero. The Tyrant Kagero was formerly the Leader Kagero, but Leader went out of business in 2015, and my understanding is that Patrick from Pedal Consumption, because Leader went out of business, had to go find another company to manufacture his design, the Kagero. I'm not sure what you mean by reborn and what the ties are between Tyrant and Leader bikes, but if indeed Leader bikes and Tyrant bikes do have a connection, here's what you need to know about Leader bikes. In 2015, Leader redesigned their 725 and 735 models, and they had this flawed C-clamp design which was prone to cracking. A bunch of people's C-clamp areas were cracking. Those customers contacted Leader, and Leader did not honor their warranties. A bunch of shops and riders started boycotting Leader, and they went under. But as far as I can tell, Leader and Tyrant do not have a connection. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But even if they did have a substantiated connection, as long as they're making good bikes with a good design and selling them at a reasonable price and supporting them with good customer service, I don't think it matters. The Kagero is a tried and true design that a lot of people have liked over the years, and if Tyrant, regardless of who they are executing that design well, that sounds like a good bike to me. Do you think upgrading your stock, still fully functional headset provides any additional benefits, or would you consider it unnecessary? The question that you need to answer is, what functional benefits do you get from a nicer headset, and what problems do you have with your current headsets. In most cases, the stock headsets are perfectly fine, but if you want to upgrade to a Chris King or something with an anodized color just because it looks nicer and you want Fixie points and you have the money, that's perfectly fine too. But I personally can't justify spending triple-digit US dollar amounts replacing something that is still perfectly fine. How do you feel about oval chainrings on fixed gear and single-speed bikes? Do you think they're worth the hype? For those of you who don't know, oval chainrings are exactly what they sound like, a chainring that is shaped like an oval or an ellipse. The idea is that because they're not perfectly round, it'll make it feel easier and harder to pedal at different points in the pedal stroke. You can more easily pedal through the dead spot of the pedal stroke when the cranks are close to vertical, and it's a bit harder to pedal when the cranks are horizontal when your legs have more leverage. This supposedly gives a more efficient pedaling motion, which supposedly helps you to maintain a steady cadence. The downside is because the chainring isn't perfectly round, you will have fluctuations in your chain tension throughout the pedal stroke. But I've never ridden an oval chainring, so I can't definitively say whether that change in chain tension is actually enough to be a problem. My advice is to try it out and see if you like it, and keep an eye on your chain tension to make sure that your chain doesn't get so loose that your chain pops off. If you want to read more about oval and elliptical chain rings, you could feel free to check out the Sheldon Brown article linked in the description. What's the step-by-step process for maintaining my skinwall tires? Firstly, skinwall tires don't do well in the sun. They'll start to dry out and blister with too much exposure to the sun. To keep your skin walls moisturized and lasting longer, be sure to wipe the sidewalls with Armor All automotive interior wipes about once every 2 to 3 months, depending on how much your bike is in the sun. If you want to keep your skin walls looking clean, you have to never ride them in the rain. I found that as cool as skinwall tires look, riding them in the rain does irreversible fixie point damage, and they'll get grungy and stained from all of the road and bike grime. You'll have to accept the fact that your skinwall tires will get grungy over time. And in my experience, the sidewalls tend to be a weak spot and they don't last nearly as long as their black-walled cousins. But they do look a lot cooler. What's the best warm weather 80+ degree clothing for cycling? What's best for me may not be best for you. I personally like to wear pants, whether that's jeans or wool trousers, along with a black linen button-up or a black cotton t-shirt. You're going to be sweaty while riding your bike in warm weather. There's no getting around that. So I wear black to at least look halfway decent. T-shirts are comfortable for me, and linen shirts are light and breathable, and the buttons give flexibility for rolling up the sleeves or undoing a few buttons to let the air breeze through and cool me off. How often do your pants and jeans get worn out in the crotch area? Do you repair them? I always ride in pants and jeans. When I mean always, I mean 100% of the time, and usually my pants last between 6 to 10 months. Sometimes I sew them up, but usually I just get new pants and deal with it that way. What's something that annoys you about riding fixed gear? For me, it's the inability to be aerodynamic down a hill and descending slower than a free-wheeled bike would. If you ride a lot of hills, that's probably the biggest drawback of a fixed gear. Nothing really annoys me about riding fixed gear per se, but the bike does point out my weaknesses as a rider, and having the power to climb super steep hills and this skill to navigate brakeless down a hill are my two biggest weaknesses as a fixed gear rider. This next segment is called Consult Your Doctor, where I give terrible training and nutrition advice, then urge you to consult your doctor. Take everything that I say here with a pound of salt, because I am far from qualified to give training and nutrition advice. I can only tell you what's worked for me, and what's worked for me may not work for you. So if you want real advice, consult your doctor or personal trainer. But you asked, so here's my terrible advice. Best workout to enhance stamina. Step number 1, make sure that your bike fit is impeccable. If anything hurts while you're riding your bike, that isn't your lungs, your heart, or your legs. Something is wrong with your bike fit. Fix it so it doesn't hurt. Step number 2, ride your bike until your legs can't ride anymore. Then the next ride you do, aim to go 50% further than your longest ride. An optional step, ride harder and you'll be tired faster. Try to ride harder for longer. Step number 3, repeat step number 2. Eventually you'll hit a stamina ceiling where sleep becomes your limiting factor on how far you can ride. Congratulations, you've improved your stamina. Are there more efficient ways to do it? Probably. But stamina is all about doing something for a long time. And if you're not willing to put in the work to get there, you won't be willing to put in the work when you get there. That's what worked for me. Consult your doctor or trainer. I want to use cycling as a form of weight loss. What are some tips for making a habit out of cycling for exercise and setting out routes that I can commit to? For about 90% of the time that I'm on my bike, I'm not going out for a ride. I'm using my bike to go places that I need to go. So if you need to go to work, bike there. You need to go home from work, bike there. You need to get groceries to put food in your food hole, bike there. It's easy to commit to riding your bike when your ride is something that you already have to do. Find ways to incorporate cycling into your everyday life and it'll become a part of you. Hopefully you can get to the point where you won't even have to think about quote unquote having to ride your bike. You'll just ride your bike. Make your routes fun and make them a distance that you can realistically ride. Have a handful of easy, medium, and hard routes that you have pre-planned to limit your excuses for getting on your bike. Keep it fun and don't make riding your bike a means to an end. That's a surefire way to lose motivation to keep riding. If you ride your bike regularly and keep your diet in check, weight loss and maintaining a healthy weight should come as a side effect. If you truly enjoy cycling, you'll want to ride more. If you ride more, you should lose weight. But of course, this is what's worked for me. Ask your doctor. What do you think are the best types of foods to eat on the bike to avoid feeling full? I don't like to eat on the bike so much. I instead prefer to eat a huge meal and then ride for hours. My favorite mid-ride food is a fat burrito drowned in salsa and hot sauce, so I don't think I'm the best person to answer this question. In the event that I need to eat something while on the bike, I like to scarf down 2 to 3 peanut butter sandwiches just to make the hunger go away. I need to try hard to feel full. I don't know, man. Vegetables are good for you. Try carrots, celery. A lot of people like Cliff Bars and those weird, nasty energy pouches that you squeeze into your mouth. Try that. How is your diet on average? Do you eat food that'll benefit your cycling and overall fitness to become a more efficient rider? Or do you eat whatever you want? For lunch, I usually eat a huge bowl of ramen that I get multiple refills on noodles. And then I eat a big plate of curry for dinner, which usually has something deep fried. And then I'll have ice cream for dessert. And I don't gain or lose weight no matter how hard I try. And now that I'm in Taiwan and I eat out for every single meal, most of them pretty unhealthy no less, I've actually lost weight and I had to make a new notch in my belt. I don't know either. One factor is that I do intermittent fasting, which is a fancy way of saying I'm too lazy to eat breakfast. That might contribute to my healthy weight despite my god-awful diet. Apparently a lot of people lose a lot of weight doing intermittent fasting though, so consider asking your doctor about that. I love cycling, but my goal isn't to be the slimmest, fastest, most slipperiest, most aerodynamic cyclist out there. I don't change my life to fit into cycling. I live my life, and cycling just happens to be a part of it. That's why I'm not too into nutrition and training. Consult your doctor. Get a personal trainer. That's it for this Fixed Gear Q&A. If you want to have your question answered, be sure to keep an eye out for the community post towards the end of each month. Speaking of towards the end and this video, our channel sponsor, Wabi Cycles, is the epitome of what makes cycling fun. Every one of Wabi's design choices are meticulously made to give you the purest ride quality for the money. And Wabi executes those choices perfectly with master craftsmen right here in Taiwan and a friendly bike shop in Denver, Colorado that is eager to answer your questions and get you on a bike that you'll love. This amounts to efficient, elegant, and timeless bikes that you can get from a passionate group of fellow cyclists. Wabi's relentless attention to detail results in Wallace, my 58-centimeter Wabi Special, weighing in at 17.5 pounds or 7.97 kilograms straight out of the box. That's well under 20 pounds for a completely steel lugged frame set that has no carbon components. That weight isn't just for quoting and impressing other cyclists though. It results in the best riding experience that I've ever had on a bike, with a snappy, responsive, and lively bike that only top shelf steel can bring. That pure fun makes it easy for me to ride Wallace my Wabi Special as my only bike as I travel throughout Asia. So if you're looking for the bike that could very well put an end to your search for the perfect bike, consider checking out Wabi Cycles, linked at the top of the description, because it really is the closest thing that I've ridden to the perfect bike. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, or a thumbs down if you think it sucked. And consider subscribing for more fixed gear videos, and share this with a friend that you think needs more fixed gears in their life. And stop watching me right now if you haven't ridden your bike yet today. Instead, ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.